Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this beautiful blue-green globe of ours. Welcome to Real News Live. This is a special Toxically Masculine Tuesday edition. I always say it's special, but it's not. Steve Doran.
I'm here.
Having some computer issues.
I don't know what the deal is. My phone's working fine, so.
Yeah, weird. Finally got Steve in. Welcome to Toxically Masculine Tuesday. I'm your host, Mike Bara, in Las Vegas, Nevada, joined as I always am by all of these powerful, toxically masculine gentlemen. And guys, I had Michael Jaco on today talking about LifeWave patches, which are freaking amazing, by the way. I've lost 12 pounds. I think I told you that last week. Just from the patches. And Mike wants to join us one of these days. So we're going to have, anytime anybody can't be on, we'll ask Michael if he wants to join us and be a little toxically masculine with the group here. So the guy immediately to my right, flexing over there, is Dr. Brooks Agnew, the man with whom you cannot spend 4 hours in a car without walking away smarter. Brooks, how you doing? How'd the work go on the house today, and what are you drinking?
I'm not drinking anything. Just came in, sat down, got ready to go. I've been there since dawn. I just left, but we're doing very well. Made a mega trip to the dump, like thousands of pounds of scrap, and started building kitchen cabinets today. So we are getting very close. It's shaping up nice. Tomorrow we start laying tile.
Cool. All right. Yeah, right. So that's what, see, this is what men do. This is what masculine men do, is they build shit. Speaking of building shit, how about Steve Doran, Trail Boss, the man, kitty corner down there for me. Steve, somewhere in the skunk ape regions of Arkansas.
Blue
How you
man,
doing, Steve?
Blue man,
how you doing?
Everything's going well. The it's a lifestyle, keeping the ranch running, keeping everything up and moving as it should be. And as you know, I got two of my dogs got bit by copperheads.
Yeah.
And, fortunately for them, it's not a deadly thing. It's just but you still got to take them to the vet.
Yeah. You get a little,
but it's not deadly, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, it was a dog. Dog got bit, and who else got bit? Who was the other
Rids.
one? Rids. Okay. So
see, they're like, their job is to protect you, right? So they see these snakes, and you cannot call them off. They go in for the kill and rip them to shreds.
Real men own dogs. Speaking of that, speaking of real men, TV's Blake Wally, cub reporter for the show, manager and owner of the hottest strip club in Nashville. Can't wait when I come out for the Nashville gig that we're doing with Tom Reed in September. And Blake is going to get us VIP passes and everything. So, Blake, how you doing? When's the club open?
Doing well. It's great to be here. The club's going to open about 11 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
It is Tuesday, later. A little bit later, yeah. But we're rolling.
So what are you drinking tonight?
I am still working on this bottle of Larceny.
Larceny.
So much. It's, you're almost there.
Getting there. Good progress.
All right.
I remember when he used to polish off a bottle show to show.
Oh,
yeah. Well, he used to live in Vegas too, so there's lots of things Blake used to do that he doesn't do anymore. So, all right, gosh, guys, anything in the news we want to talk about at all? It's like these shows, man. We're just scraping the bottom of the barrel to find content to talk about on our show. Let's start with Attorney General Pam Blondie. Let's just go here and do this and listen to Blondie.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
The DOJ.
Okay, so we have that video from Pam Blondie, and then yesterday she comes out and says that there are no Epstein files after she just said they were sitting on her desk, and then Jew boy douchebag Ben Shapiro, Jesus Christ, man, you dye those fucking eyebrows. comes out and says, hey, you just got to accept the fact they're telling the truth. Let's listen to Ben Shapiro, who, by the way, is going to be on tour this summer. It's called the Talk Like a Girl Tour. Ben Shapiro.
We now have the answers. And the problem is this. People who never hedged their bets, people who never at any point suggested to you that they don't have data to back up the speculation, that the speculation was in and of itself the conclusion that if you speculate without evidence, that amounts to an actual conclusion to an investigation, they're going to be very upset today because it turns out that the DOJ and the FBI have concluded that Epstein didn't have a client list and died by suicide, according to a memo detailing the findings obtained by Axios. Now, again, does this put to bed like all inquiries? Of course not. People can continue to speculate as much as they want. And I think there's still open questions here regarding how did Epstein make his money?
Oh, really?
But that's a very serious open question. And the speculation for a long time was he made his money from blackmail. But the DOJ and the FBI, again, run by people like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are telling you, I'm not telling you, they're telling you, people who are members of the Trump administration, people you elected and put into these positions to get you the truth on this matter, are telling you that he didn't, in fact, he was not murdered. He did not keep a client list. And he did not blackmail powerful figures. Okay, right? That is the thing that they are saying, not I. They are saying this. If you're willing to throw that over and claim they're lying, then I'd like to see you present your evidence that they are in fact lying. Because I know Dan. I don't think that Dan Bongino is lying to me.
Hang on. We're going to get to it. Hang on.
I know Kash Patel a little bit. I don't think Kash Patel is lying to me. I don't think these people are lying to me. Which means that if somebody else continues to claim that they're lying, they ought to provide their evidence at this point. And now is the point at which the facts on the ground have changed. And so either you ought to shift your opinion based on the facts that have now emerged, or you ought to acknowledge that this was never a fact-based inquiry in the first place.
Okay, that's Ben Shapiro. And, you know, I hate to say it. Here's a video of the FBI field office a couple of months ago cheering for a guy named James Dennehy, who was forced to resign after he was caught hiding the Epstein files that don't exist.
An extraordinary scene outside of the New York FBI office in the last hour. Assistant Director in charge, James Dennehy, who was forced to resign under pressure this week, left the building to cheers from hundreds of his colleagues and the sound of bagpipes. He was forced out after clashing with Donald Trump's Justice Department after the removal of senior FBI leaders and requests for the names of agents who worked on the January 6 cases. He told those gathered that he will be their, quote, best cheerleader on the outside. We'll be watching for that. Another break for us. We'll be right back.
Yeah, you know, just a quick comment before we go to the next video, which I do want to get to. I would identify each and every person in that video, and I would have fired them all by now, just to, you know, seriously, just to get to it. But I found myself, shockingly, actually agreeing with all people, Jake Tapper tonight. Let's watch Jake from the other day, yesterday.
So what's really going on here? I mean, what's really going on? Well, experts, such as our friend Julie Brown from the Miami Herald, who's been covering Epstein for years, say that the notion of Epstein having an easy-to-access client list is likely a red herring. And that's what the Trump administration is relying on, that there likely isn't a list per se. But they are also now relying on the fact that because it's MAGA influencers who often put forward so many falsehoods, legacy news media won't push the point, that while there might not be a list, there are certainly files that can be released. There's a trove of information that the Trump administration is right now refusing to share. Information that could well point to the powerful folks who availed themselves of the sex trafficking victims of Jeffrey Epstein. If you go, for example, to the FBI's vault online, you can see that there are 22 files containing thousands of pages. Most of them are heavily redacted. Now, sure, of course, redact the names and identifying characteristics of the victims. But why not make the victim and witness testimonies public? As Julie Brown points out, there's still so much we don't know from the investigations by U.S. attorneys in Miami and in New York, witness interviews in the U.S. Virgin Islands and New Mexico. Brown writes that there's still more evidence that hasn't been published, including, quote, Epstein kept video cameras in most of his residences, and Epstein's autopsy, nor the report of the investigation into his death, has ever been made public. So while there may not be an official client list to be released, as the administration is now saying, there's a lot of extra information that is not being made public, despite Trump's Justice Department basically now saying case closed. This isn't going to go away. The public, you're being played for fools here.
Wow, I gotta say, I never thought I'd ever agree with Jake Tapper on anything, but I've got to 100% agree with that. You're being played for fools. Trump was asked about it at the press conference there, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about that creep." Like he thinks he's just going to move past this. This is the biggest blow to Donald Trump and MAGA ever. Kash Patel is lying. Pam Blondie is lying. Dan Bongino is lying. They all have to go, and Trump is covering for them. And Susan, all lies. We all know they exist. We know the files exist. We know the video exists. I want the unredacted files, every single one of them. This lie is crazy. Steve, I know you're passionate about this. I could tell. Let's start with you, and then we'll go to Blake and Brooks. What do you got to say about this?
Well, first of all, we have the pilots that flew the planes, right? That flew the planes to the island and have all of the we have all of the lists of the people that they flew there. We also have their personal statements of who was on the planes. So we have eyewitness statements of who was on the plane, who plus their logs. So that right there is a client list, right, of who they were flying back and forth to the island.
Yeah.
But how come nobody's bringing that up?
Yeah, people like Bill Gates repeatedly, and so many other names. Bill Clinton,
and again, all of those people were on the flight logs. Every one of those people were on the flight logs. So, how can you say that there's no client list when you have all of the flight logs that name all of those people? And we were told prior to the other day that there was a client list, that there was information regarding very powerful people in the report, and now it doesn't exist.
Yeah, suddenly it doesn't exist anymore. Blake, I want to go to you. You did a show on this earlier today. What do you think of this whole situation?
Not pleased. This is causing a rift in MAGA. So, and there should be on this, so whether people stand on principles or whether they trust the plan. So this feels like a betrayal, and now they're gaslighting us. And I was not, as I guess you are too, not very pleased with Trump's response. Like he's surprised, like we still care, that we're still talking about this issue, like it's been gone for years. He knows about this, so it's really insulting. And then Pam Bondi's the only person that said, there's evidence, it's on my desk. They had a truckload of evidence that was supposed to get delivered from the FBI. Good call on that Dennehy thing. I mean, we've already seen plenty of evidence so far, and now they're pretending like they never had it to begin with. So it's bizarre. Why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison if there's nothing there? Or if he would have why did he commit suicide? Like, there's so many questions. Then there's
Jeffrey Epstein apparently committed suicide over crimes he never committed. So, and again, if I'm Ghislaine Maxwell, Giz, as she's known to her friends, I would have filed a petition 5 minutes after that press conference to say I want my immediate release and or pardon from President Trump, because I'm convicted of crimes that the government is now saying never fucking happened. Brooks, let's go to you for your opinion on this, and then any insight. I had Michael Jaco on my show earlier today, not Toxically Tuesday, but the Real News Live show, and he said, well, it's just not time yet, and they're delaying, and they want to continue to leverage people. Do you have any thoughts about what the fuck Trump is thinking? Some people are saying there's these deep state threats that they'll do more flooding or something if they don't comply. Do you buy any of that bullshit, or are you sick of this crap at this point?
Well, the Epstein Island is basically Playboy Part 2. So Playboy was a honey trap that was set up by the FBI to get powerful, influential people in compromising positions with bunnies. And they did it all the time. I mean, they were seduced all the time. This was with kids. And this is a deeper, darker, more evil entry into this. Epstein Island was set up as a blackmail system. Everybody that went there was tempted. Some people took the temptation and some people didn't. The ones that did flew back over and over and over again. Kids 9, 10, 12, 15 years old, all underage, all there with their parents, permission, because it'll only hurt for a little while, baby, and then we're going to be rich. Don't worry about it. Epstein was set up as a billionaire honeypot to pull these people in and blackmail them. When it went down, the FBI poured over that island. There were people that flew drones over that island and filmed the FBI scooping up all those computers, all those cameras in all the hot tub rooms and the bathrooms and the steam rooms where all these little naked kids were with all these naked adults. And if they couldn't get you to compromise, they would drug you and then get the kids to climb in bed with you and take pictures of you with the kids while you're asleep.
Yeah, like the Godfather Part 2 stuff. Yeah, like that scenario.
All that evidence is there. The fact that the Trump administration doesn't want to make that evidence public, Jaco's right. It makes a lot of sense that they're not doing that, but they're also using it as leverage. Maybe why he's getting all these global peace deals. I don't know.
The only thing I could think of is that by exposing Kash Patel and Pam Blondie and Dan Bongino as
they definitely
liars.
Don't know how to lie.
I mean, yeah, there's been body language experts that have looked at Kash Patel and everybody, and it's like he's just terrified when he says, "Oh, he killed himself." I'm confident of that. Everybody says they're lying. Everybody knows they're fucking lying. Nobody, and again, that Trump's trying to move past this onto some other bullshit about peace agreements. It's like, I don't give a shit about that. By the way, Don, you're the one who brought this shit up in 2016. You're the one who brought Jeffrey Epstein into this equation of presidential politics 8 or 9 years ago, and now you're saying there's nothing to it. Well, then why did you bring it up? So this just doesn't sell. The only thing I can think of is that they are trying to discredit the FBI and the DOJ to the point that nobody will argue about dissolving them permanently and forever. But that's kind of like when people keep telling me the IRS is going away. Well, it ain't gone yet. People keep telling me these are actors. You're watching a movie. Well, this movie fucking sucks. So,
well, what about
it's like,
what about the stuff that Elon talked about, the trillions of dollars that were stolen, and that he tracked it back to the people who actually took the money into the different agencies who were using that money illegally that was stolen from the American taxpayer. We haven't heard no arrests. Nobody's been identified. None of the agencies have been identified. It's just more bullshit. I mean, it's like, Biden too. We're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it's just all horse shit. They don't do anything. So, I mean, he's just, in my opinion, he's no better than Biden was.
Yeah, at this point, and it's funny, Elon posted this on Twitter yesterday, the official Jeffrey Epstein pedophile arrest counter, and he says, "What's the time? Oh, look, it's no one has been arrested o'clock again." So it's like, yeah, Elon, you fucking nailed that. So, guys, where do you think this goes? I think this is I don't want to say mortal blow, but this is a deeply life-threatening blow to the Trump administration. And the fact that he is so obviously helping in the cover-up without any explanation, it's weird to me, because here's the thing. They didn't need to come out and say this. They could have sat on this another 6 or 8 months and said, we're still investigating. So they are the ones who brought this out. Did they really think, are they that politically naive, that they really thought that if they tried to sell this horse shit to the world, that anybody would buy it?
They think everybody's a chump.
Yeah, I mean, there's part of them that thinks that they can get away with this and that the base is going to go along and support it no matter what. But they could have miscalculated that, or it's easy for them to come up with that scenario in their heads in a board meeting. But once they just tried to like slip out a memo on Sunday night, right after 4th of July weekend, and then just try to like bury this thing, it's bizarre. No, everyone's confused by this, so they really have to do something spectacular to dig themselves out of this hole. So they posted this. They're gonna go after Comey and Brennan.
Yeah, we're
That
talking
would be
about that
huge.
next. Yeah, we're
But
talking
at
about
this
that.
point, but at this point, if they don't make an arrest, then this is they've just destroyed themselves with this Epstein thing.
Right.
Julian Assange came out and said that once everything breaks, 98% of Washington, D.C. will fall. So is that coming from a guy who, risked his life telling the truth, or is that coming from a guy who is now part of the problem?
Yeah. Patriot Hero, tell your dumbass son that if Trump was on the list in any significant way other than what we already know, that it would have come out years and years and years ago to prevent him from ever being the president in the first place. Exactly. And that Trump would not have been the one who brought Epstein up consistently in all 3 campaigns. He talked about Epstein. So if Trump was on the list, why would he put himself at risk like that? So your son is a dumbass. Tell him he's a dumbass for me, please. And and again, Kathy, I hear you. The Epstein stuff isn't finished. We're witnessing a bait and switch. It's been 8 fucking years. Okay? 8 fucking years. Almost a decade since Trump started this thing. And he's been talking about this, and they're still lying to us. At some point, Brooks, at some point you can line your soldiers up all day long. And I keep hearing this shit. Trust the plan. And, they know what they're doing. And something's coming. It's like at some point you have to shoot off the heavy artillery and start fighting these guys. When the fuck are they going to do that? Any thoughts, Brooks?
I don't know. We want to see the arrests happen. We talk about the dirty 30 or the dirty 300. There are lists and lists of people that should be arrested, and they should be put on trial and found guilty or not guilty. There is plenty of evidence. It's clear that the FBI has been intimidating witnesses, intimidating judges, tampering with evidence, which is all against the law. And they're also obstructing justice because they're holding all this evidence and they don't let the DOJ have it where they can prosecute it. And we want to see the arrests.
I mean, again, it's just like I see this as a very, very serious blow to Trump and MAGA, this cover up, because it's going to destroy not just the credibility of FBI and DOJ, but him as well. And it already is destroying it. And nobody believes his shit, and nobody should believe it because it's clearly horseshit. And I don't see
it's destroying our country from the perspective that there are those of us who trusted him and who were waiting for him to get into office
to do something,
take care of these things and actually do something. And now it's Biden too. So he has let down people who went to bat for him, bent over backwards.
What he always does.
He got elected.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the people that got arrested that he didn't do shit about. I mean, he didn't even help pay for Roger Stone and Bannon's, and who was the other guy that got arrested? He didn't even help pay for their legal fees for Vaccaro, or what was his name? Peter, what's his name?
Navarro.
Peter Navarro.
Twist in the wind. And, Michael Flynn lost his $800,000 house to try to hire lawyers to defend himself. Trump could have paid his mortgage off for him. And he doesn't do anything. He just lets his friends twist in the wind. And I'm shocked people are still loyal to this guy because I don't feel like he's worthy of our loyalty at this point. Get your ass in gear and start doing what people elected you 3 times to do. We're tired of the setup. At some point, you got to fire a shot and go to war. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. And I just, I am flabbergasted.
There are so many people who could be indicted. There are so many people who could be arrested. There are so many things that could be addressed at this point, and all they do is they go after a few people who are breaking into ICE facilities or judges that are hiding and illegal. You know, all this little like nonsense that nobody cares about.
Yeah,
you know, we want to see the big dogs go down. We don't care about these little idiots.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that this could be is that they get in the files and they look and it says Epstein was being controlled by aliens and we can't tell. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. Why? But whatever they saw in those files scared them shitless, and they have stopped this investigation and they're trying to kill it. And you know, everybody says, "Oh, it's a setup for something to come later." I've been hearing that shit since the Durham report, and nothing ever happens. So bullshit.
You know, it wasn't Epstein's idea. Epstein just got the fringe benefits. He got to play with the kids. His job was to rope in these people and film them
and compromise them
in a hot tub with Menudo. That was his job.
Okay, boys, what do you think about this possibility? I'm going to throw this out there that there were so many powerful people on the list, and somebody said, "Oh, the economy would collapse if everybody got arrested on this list." Fine, that gives us a reason to go to a gold-backed currency and revalue everything, and pay off the national debt. What do you think about the fact that this would have basically collapsed the government if they release these files? Do you think that's any kind of realistic possibility?
Let it collapse. Let it collapse. I mean, that would be a great thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see the government collapse. All these corrupt politicians go to prison, and have the states reappoint senators and congressmen to
temporarily, and then have new elections. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
I mean, it's like, get rid of these bastards.
There is a government all set up, all vetted, all purified, ready to take their place. It's called continuity of government. What we want to see is mass arrests, just like they did the doctors that were scamming all the COVID money. Just like they did the doctor. It was 320 health professionals. They arrested them all at one time. Do the same thing with
January 6th protesters. The January 6th protesters, they found every single one of them and prosecuted a bunch of innocent people and denied them their constitutional rights for 4 fucking years. But we can't find a single person on the Epstein list to prosecute for any crime.
Right.
Give me a break. Blake, any thoughts before we go to the next thing?
Yeah, I guess you're right. They're too big to jail, too big to fail, too big to jail, and they can't do it for whatever reason, but they can't tell us, which just makes it more frustrating. And for them internally, I guess they don't want to deal with the consequences.
It's not that they can't. It's not that they can't tell us, Blake. They won't tell us.
They won't.
Big
exactly.
difference. They will
exactly.
not.
Exactly.
There's no such thing as too big to jail. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. There's too big to jail.
Nope.
Put them in jail.
Yeah, so let's get the revaluation of the currencies going and go to the gold standard, gold-backed money, and then the people will have enough wealth to keep the economy going, and we won't have to worry about it.
If XRP went to 10,000, it would pass Ethereum. It would be somewhere between Ethereum and Bitcoin, and you would create probably 200,000 millionaires overnight.
Yep, at least. So, all right, guys. Other breaking stories. Guess what? According to Fox News, this is the pivot position because Fox just ignored the Epstein list story today. I watched a little bit. Fox is the best news agency we have, but they suck. But they completely ignored the Epstein controversy today, and they tried to pivot to this. Check this out.
Well, now there's this. The FBI has launched criminal investigations into former FBI Director James Comey and the former director of the CIA, John Brennan. Justice Department sources tell Fox News Digital the probes are related to potential wrongdoing related to the Trump-Russia investigation. That includes allegations of making false statements to Congress. We'll keep an eye on that for you.
Okay, and then Carolyn Leavitt went on Fox a little later and pivoted again, working on the pivot on Jesse Waters' show Let's listen to her bullshit.
What we have seen is corruption at the highest levels
against
President
That
Trump.
never gets
The deep
prosecuted.
state threw everything at him to prevent him from coming back to this big, beautiful White House behind me. And he prevailed, and the truth must come out. And this administration is totally committed to transparency and to justice and to accountability. And we must have a rule of law in this country. We can't be a nation without law and order. That's what the president believes in, and I'm glad to see the Department of Justice is opening up this investigation. What we have seen...
So... I'm going to throw this out here. Anybody notice, probably you've seen it, Blake or somebody, anybody notice anything different about Caroline Leavitt in this particular clip?
No cross?
No cross. And yesterday when she was trying to defend the Epstein decision and say they were telling the truth, she did not wear a cross. She's a devout Christian. She wears a cross every day. She has several different ones that she wears. But the last 2 days when she's had to stand up, stare in the camera, and lie through her fucking teeth, she hasn't worn the cross. Any of you guys think that's significant?
It is.
I think it's very significant.
I have a friend, Ian Trottier. He's trying to publish a book right now about Brennan. It is so fact-filled with his criminal activities as a communist, as a registered communist in this country, that he cannot get it published to a regular publisher. Now, I'm tempting him to self-publish, but he knows if he does, the book will go nowhere. It needs to be published on a mainstream press. Brennan is a communist, and he needs to go down.
Well, a communist and a Muslim who's been working to undermine the United States for the last 25 years. Blake, do you have any confidence whatsoever that this investigation is going to go anywhere, or is this simply another investigation in order to clear Comey and Brennan of any wrongdoing, just like they did with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to agree there, Mike. Kind of leading me on to there. I suppose there's gonna drag it out and nothing's gonna happen. As I was saying earlier, they're gonna need an arrest of like one of these high-profile people or both to kind of get us back on board, get some of the Trump supporters back on board that there is going to be justice in this country, because this was a major loss with the Epstein thing. So this is their way to sort of redeem themselves, but they're going to have to come up with something with the Epstein list eventually. But this would be something to get in our good graces again. So hopefully they'll do something.
Yeah, Steve, do you think Comey or Brennan is going to jail, either one of them?
Well, the thing is that with those two, weren't they also accused of hiding the JFK files and hiding the Epstein, the
Anthony Weiner laptop, they were deeply involved
and all
in
that, and how come, none of that stuff is being discussed? How come they're not talking about indicting him over any of that kind of nonsense? That's what I'm saying. This whole thing it's just smoke and mirrors just to keep the public at bay, to get to a point to do whatever it is that they're going to do. I don't know what that is, but it's just like they're playing with the American people, and they're going to start a fire that they're not going to be able to put out.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just to get back to this, Zeke is talking about how if this was a Mossad is Mossad, I believe it's Mossad. Could be part of the reason why they're holding off on bringing it down. Yeah, anybody else think it's significant that Epstein was thrown away as an issue the day that Benjamin Netanyahu visited from Israel? Anybody think there's a connection there? What do you think, Brooks?
There are no such things as coincidences. Come on. When you get evidence tampering and obstruction at this level, and it's just about ready to break, and then Benjamin Netanyahu visits and poof, it goes away.
Yeah.
AIPAC swings a 12-pound cudgel in Washington, D.C. By the way, a cudgel is a mallet that's used to break the femur of a person who's being crucified so they won't die on the Sabbath. They have to die before the Sabbath. So they break the femur. That's what Benjamin Netanyahu brings to Washington. He brings a cudgel.
Blake or Steve, any thoughts on that? Is it just coincidental that the same day that Netanyahu visits that Epstein goes away?
I don't believe so.
No.
I believe it was a Mossad operation between the United States and Israel. And so once it was no longer needed, boom, gone, history. Now it didn't even exist.
Yeah. Okay. So, again, none of us believes that that either one of these guys is going to jail or they're going to be seriously prosecuted. And again, it's a fake investigation. I just keep going back to maybe if Matt Gaetz was the attorney general, this wouldn't have happened. But I don't know. I don't know that that's not true. But I want to remind everybody, because this is all connected, the Comey-Brennan investigation and the Epstein thing are connected. And I just thought of something as we were talking. I know we kind of dropped the Epstein issue already, but I want to go back to it. Because don't forget this from 2012 or something. An ABC reporter talking about what she knows about what went on Epstein Island.
Yeah.
First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
Breaking story. ABC News has just given...
Okay, yeah, but the Epstein files aren't real. There was no pedophilia going on, and nobody's guilty of anything.
Well, and all of the key witnesses that committed suicide prior to the
Virginia Giuffre's
prior to it coming out that there is no file, there is no client list.
Yeah,
all those people killed themselves to ensure that they couldn't rebut anything that's being said now.
Yeah, they were Arkansas-cited, as they like to say about the Clintons. So right there, all you have to do is listen to what she says. Amy Rohrbach, she had everything. So she knows more about what went on Epstein Island than apparently the FBI and the DOJ and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Blondy know. It's ridiculous. I think all these people have to go. Cover-up has to be exposed. It's insane. And again, Lyle, if there's no client list, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail? What did she do?
She needs to be released immediately.
Yeah. Is Trump a genius? Really? Is he? Or is he just flailing around, jumping from one political crisis to another while we give him more credit than he's actually due?
I mean, I think a lot of this goes hand in hand, to be perfectly honest with you. I think a lot of this goes hand in hand with where Elon Musk came out on the Joe Rogan show and said, hey, these people that we're investigating are extremely dangerous. If we shut them down, we cut off their money supply, we expose who they are, we're dead. Or at least I'm dead. They will kill me. And I think that's where we're at, that they have uncovered so much corruption that Trump knows he's dead. He knows his family's dead. Musk is dead, and everybody else involved.
They've been trying to kill Trump for 10 years. They've been trying to kill the guy. And believe me, I have my friend, the mechanic. He knows all about him. I mean, I've talked to him about these attempts. They haven't gotten to him yet. He's pretty freaking smart.
They haven't gotten to Trump. That doesn't mean they can't take out Musk and all the other players.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean,
what would you guys?
Chuck Schumer.
I mean, if you were Elon Musk, are you gonna like protect your own hide and the hide of your children and family, or are you gonna, put it out there for a guy who we know, President Trump, is disloyal to his friends and hangs them out to dry? I mean, who are you gonna protect?
And look, I'm not saying I'm not allowing Donald Trump to redeem himself. I'm just sick and tired of this shit. And you're the fucking president. You have control of the military. You know what would stop all this stuff, Don? Is if you started arresting all these people, just like they did on January 6th, and shoot them in the head. Oh shit, that's going to get spam. Start taking action. You don't win wars on the defensive. You win wars on the offensive. And
I would love to see these people charged with treason and publicly hanged.
Yeah, well, me too. But
okay, that's what Schumer was saying. You don't go after these people. You don't cross Brennan. He will get you 6 ways from Sunday.
Well, then, you know what? Send in the 101st Airborne, parachute into Langley, surround the building, cut off the power, cut off the water, build a fucking Chernobyl sarcophagus over the place, and let them die. Okay? Let's do that. Guess what? I'm sorry. Not even on steroids. There are ways you can deal with this, Brooks, and they are not being dealt with.
And it can be done with no press. It can be done with no habeas corpus.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be done with military tribunals in Guantanamo. Done. Finished. Nobody ever knows what happens because all the testimony, all the proceedings are sealed.
Mike Mussolini. You know what, Sean? I am of the opinion that this country could use a little benevolent fascism for 2 or 3 years, and I'm happy to volunteer to be the guy who decides thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay, I'll gladly do that for you. Barry Richards says Steve D is correct in what he's saying, that we have no alternative but to bring in the military and face righteous civil war. I'm sorry to say, deeply sorry. Yeah, that's one of the. Yeah, it is taco time because Dave Bara is just picking up my tacos out there. It is, we keep hearing the Q thing. Military is the only way. Then let's get on.
Yeah, let's get on with it.
Let's get on with it. I'm fine with that.
To remove somebody from office, especially that is appointed at the whim of the president, is nothing. They say, oh, this guy, the CIA. If you go after the CIA, they're going to get you one way or the other. Bullshit. You send in about 50 U.S. Marshals. You grab the guy. You immediately take him with a helicopter to the airport, put him on a plane, take him to Guantanamo, cut off
clamp their nipples to a truck battery. Yeah.
Cut off all his communications with everyone.
Right. Yeah.
And begin and start going through the documentation. And anybody that gets in your way, roll them over.
Right.
And then it's done. I mean, there's no press down in Guantanamo. There's nobody filming any of that. The public won't know anything that's going on.
And if the guy, let's face reality. If you go to arrest the guy and he resists, shoot him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's that simple.
Wow. The public won't know anything. I can tell YouTube's going to take this show down. I know they're going to take this show down.
Public won't know anything.
No, seriously. I mean, if you go to arrest the guy and he resists, and he arms himself to resist being arrested, bang, he's gone.
Yeah, it's time for a little crystal knocked, I think, here in America at this point. All right, let's pivot to one more issue, which is one of the more common things we discuss. I'm a little wired. I'm not going to sleep tonight. Let's go. I'm just not. I'm too wired up. Let's go check this out. Just a few days after the big, beautiful bill was passed, guess what? A district judge, against the expressed rulings and orders of the Supreme Court, is trying to impose a national injunction on getting rid of funding for Planned Parenthood, which is part of the big, beautiful bill. So here we go.
Looks like we have a rogue judge, an Obama-backed rogue judge that is attempting to block the funding to Planned Parenthood, which the big, beautiful bill cuts off the funding to Planned Parenthood. Any plans to challenge that? Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, we're on it. We're on it. And I texted, I believe, I talked to yesterday Secretary Lutnick, and Secretary Besson, I reached out to you to let you know that we were on it in the big, beautiful bill.
Wonderful. And then my
I
second...
let her handle that question. You notice? I said, go ahead, handle that question.
Toss it to her. Looks like...
Look at Rubio's face. He's looking at her like she's a dead man walking. I mean, that's like, yeah, I'm not going to be sitting next to this bitch much longer.
The deal with Planned Parenthood is Congress sends Planned Parenthood $500+ million a year. Planned Parenthood then turns around and donates $50 million, or about 10% of that money, back to the DNC.
Yep.
Zero to the RNC. It is a money laundering scheme.
Yeah.
$50+ million a year straight to the DNC, no questions asked.
But again, Steve, get rid of the corrupt judges too. They have to go also. And we just need to get rid of a lot of these courts so that these judges simply can't rule on this stuff anymore. But here's the thing. The bill was passed. There's nothing in it that could possibly be unconstitutional. The president signed it. It's now the law. They've got to just cut the money spigot off. I mean, why? Are we going to appeal this? No, we're not going to appeal it. We're not giving them any more fucking money. That's what I'd say if I was the president, but I'm not the president. I don't understand why they don't just say to this judge, it's already been judged by the Supreme Court that you have no authority to do this, so your order is going to be ignored. But they go through this ridiculous legal process, which takes weeks and months. Does that mean, meanwhile,
because again, it's more smoke and mirrors to take your eyes off the other things they're supposed to be working on? I mean, it's clear. I mean, they throw out the most insignificant things. Not that defunding Planned Parenthood is not insignificant, but the point is that they throw out all these things that we're working hard to fix the nation, and we're defund Planned Parenthood, and we're doing this, and we're arresting these judges that hide illegal aliens. And the fact is, when you look at the big picture, they aren't doing anything. They're doing nothing.
Yep. Blake, any thoughts on this one? What do you think? I continue to not get why Trump goes through the courts. He usually ends up winning at the Supreme Court level, but what if he doesn't at some point? I don't understand what the strategy is here, because this judge is already his injunction was already pre-disqualified a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
Right, by SCOTUS.
Yeah, I don't understand why they keep popping up to try to interfere with the executive branch. It makes no sense. I don't remember this historically in the past. Maybe a couple times there's like a federal judge maybe did something for the Second Amendment or something. That's all I can remember. But now they're constantly trying to jump in to obstruct the Trump and the MAGA agenda. It's bizarre. But
yeah,
it's called stalling. It's called stalling.
Yeah,
they're stalling so that they can get their other nonsense moved around and done behind the American. While you're watching this nonsense, they're doing something behind our back.
Sometimes they get pretty close, though. They do get close, like when the state Speaker of the House decided to vote to remove Medicaid assistance for illegals in their state.
Yeah.
They shot her in the fucking head.
Yeah. Yep.
Sometimes they get really close to getting it right, and it scares the hell out of the Democrats. Look, the Democrats spent $500 billion importing a whole new voter class so they could have congressmen and governors elected to office by illegals voting. We're trying to throw those people out, and it's not humorous anymore. It's not humorous.
Well, wait a minute. We were told they were stealing trillions of dollars to fund these things, and we have not been given one name of anybody who has stolen anything. We've not been told what organizations it's being funneled through. So, again, you can say what you want to say, Brooks, but it's all horse shit. And it doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, they're all corrupt. They're all in on it, and they're all stalling to get to some point. I don't know what they're trying to get to, but it damn sure isn't fixing the nation.
Yeah, that ain't what they're getting to.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, get rid of the IRS and the Federal Reserve and the Bureau of International Settlements, 100%. I was actually told the IRS was going away last Saturday. Well, here we are. It's Tuesday and it's still around. So
and the BIS is the most powerful financial institution on the planet.
Yeah. Along with the DTCC and the World Bank. And Jacqueline Ann, I am not on steroids. I am just pissed off. So I don't need roids to get me this upset.
And by the way, that immigration thing works both ways. You know, they had riots down in Mexico City on July 4th over this.
Yeah. Why don't we talk about the riots on 4th of July? But we don't have to remove our shoes at the airport anymore. Why don't you talk about that? Sean T says you're 1,000% correct, or 100,000% correct. Talk about the riots in Mexico City.
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, everybody went to the beach to celebrate July 4th weekend, except the people in San Diego, because their water was so polluted with shit from Tijuana that they couldn't go in the water. So Mexicans had a riot on July 4th in Mexico City. I'm talking about sign waving, car burning, window smashing riots. You know what the riots were over? Americans. 20,000 Americans who live in Mexico City. They pay their own way, they pay their own bills, they buy their own food, they pay their own rent, and they're driving the cost of rent up in Mexico City. So the signs said, "Gringo, go home. Mexico is for Mexicans." Really?
Yep. Yeah, you can't survive without our Tijuana.
Let's make a trade. We'll take our 20,000 expats back. You take your 20 million Mexicans home.
Back. Yeah, exactly. And I'm sorry, but you still need us to come to Tijuana and buy Dos Equis and your $80 girls. Not
That's
that I would
exactly
know what the
right.
price is. Not that I would know what the price is at a club in Tijuana.
Mexico City would brown out without all the money those 20,000 Americans spend in that city every day.
Yeah, exactly. All right, one last thing I want
to. As soon as it starts getting dangerous, I mean, they're talking about killing the gringos. As soon as Americans start dying, they're gonna flood out of there like scalded dogs. And once that occurs, Mexico is going to be in real trouble because all that money's going to be gone.
Yeah, they'll starve to death. Basically.
Well, they need to cut off the remittances too, but I don't know how they can do it. I go to the post office all the time to ship books. I see people in line ahead of me sending envelopes overseas or to Mexico full of cash. That's called remittances. They're sending money out of the country that's American money.
Yeah,
well, I know that they, for a long time they were, sending, and I'm sure they're still doing it. They were sending gift cards because they can buy gift cards and they can put X amount of dollars on it without it being tracked or traced. And then it's secure, so if it gets lost in the mail or stolen, they can get it reissued and get their money back and get it sent over there. So I haven't seen them send cash, but I've seen them for years and years and years and years send the gift cards.
Hi, Laurel. Hi, Laurel. There's not going to be a pole shift, so just stop believing that horse shit. Okay, stop watching. What's that dick bag?
Ben Davidson, suspicious observers.
The health ranger. Jesus Christ. 3 years ago in September, he's like, "Man, there's going to be an asteroid next week," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm still here. But still, Vegas is still here." So just stop believing that horse shit. All right. One last thing. There were horrible floods in Texas over the weekend, and 100 people have died, at least 30 little girls that were there at some camps. Liberals, of course, are celebrating the death of white little girls, as they always do, because they're demonic and evil, and they like Planned Parenthood. But today, there were more. There were more of these things, floods in New Mexico. The footage is just extraordinary and shocking to watch.
He said, "Sheesh! Oh, the house! Oh, the house!
There's a whole house.
Oh, the house!"
So what part of New Mexico is this?
That house is caved, bro. Oh, look at Tuxley. goes. I'm watching. I got you. I'm chill. Oh, shit.
Unbelievable stuff. Of course, the usual 9/11, flat Earth, fake moon landing crackpots are saying, "Oh, this is weather modification," but this time they might actually have a case. So I want to ask you. I want to start with you, Brooks. Did you know that 2 days before the floods in Texas, that there was a company called Rainmakers that actually seeded the clouds right over the area where the flash floods happened? Are you suspicious that somebody did this on purpose? Is it a land grab? What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, and the company that was doing this seeding is owned by BlackRock. So, this is the same thing that happened in North Carolina, where we had an area basically the size of the country of Belgium get soaked for 5 days. Then Hurricane Helene came through, dumped a bunch more rain, and a big wall of water came down and wiped everything out close to the river. BlackRock came in and basically cut off everything. No FEMA support. Our governor, Crooked Roy Cooper, denied service to people. FEMA was not delivering any goods to anybody that had a Trump flag or a Trump sticker or a Trump sign in their yard. It was terrible. So the state residents had to step forward and help the people. This is now becoming predatory. What's going on in Texas is going on in other places. Weather is being modified by cloud seeding. And by the way, did you see those freaky radar pictures? Everywhere where these massive radar centers are, these concentric rings are formed, and the rain just pours in that concentric ring. Some frequency that they're sending out accents whatever it is they're seeding clouds with, and the clouds just punch the rain out of the sky.
Yeah, Steve sent me this earlier today. Let me hold it up. This is NexRad radar. But again, what you need to think about is not only, this is really interesting stuff because it does show these radars reacting. But here's something I want to explain to you guys. See how these are all round? They're all round, these cells.
Yes.
These are NexRad radar firing off. And it may, in fact, be enhancing the rain and the storms and all that stuff. But the reason they're round is because of the curvature of the Earth. The radar only goes out to a certain point, right? And so what you're seeing is that circumference from the radar station is elevated to a certain point. The horizon is so far. So not only does this prove that the Earth is a sphere, the other thing is it's not really extraordinary. You can see these types of things happen on a regular basis. But it is interesting that all this stuff is taking place as these storms are forming. But storms form in the Midwest. They do. St. Louis, that area that goes around the arch. Blake, do you have any thoughts on this flooding? People try to say it's climate change, global warming. This is actually not that unusual, but it is unusual, and it does bother me that there's this cloud seeding company. If they're found, should they be investigated? I mean, should this be taken seriously? And I find it also fascinating, Blake, that Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced a bill 2 days before these Texas flash floods to prosecute anybody engaged in, wait for it, weather modification. What do you think about that? I'll go look up the tweet while you're talking.
Yeah, that would certainly change things. I would love to see that and get a debate on that. It seems like the technology is there. I don't pretend to be an expert at it, but I did see this phenomenon happen last year, almost a year ago in April in Dubai, which is very dry out in the desert. And they got one of these, these biblical type of floods. It happened kind of spontaneously. People were just rocked by it. And there was also the people were saying that this looks like cloud seeding, and there is evidence of that. And so they're playing around with forces that maybe they can't quite control yet. And maybe it got out of control. I'm not saying there was any malicious intent, but this is pretty alarming stuff. And this could be used as warfare or weaponry from
Sure, and you are right. I've forgotten about that. They did the cloud seeding in Dubai. You're right, and there was the horrible flash flooding after that. And Jen, I asked my remote viewing partner there, Jen, watch the show tomorrow. And she said, no, this was natural. It's this really super dry ground, and then they had these torrential rains, and it just went crazy. So, let me show you Marjorie Taylor Greene. Her post. She said, I'm introducing a bill that prohibits the injection, release, or dispersion of chemicals or substances into the atmosphere for the express purpose of altering weather, temperature, climate, or sunlight intensity.
Wow.
It would be a felony offense. I've been researching weather modification and working with the Legislative Council for months writing this bill. It will be similar to Florida's Senate Bill 56. We must end the dangerous and deadly practice of weather modification and geoengineering. So that was actually July 5th. So that was actually the day after.
Wow.
She's been
Unreal.
working on this for months. And it's kind of interesting that this happened. So any thoughts by anybody on that particular thing? No?
Well, I mean, it blows my mind. In 1996, Bill Clinton had Secretary of State Cohen sign a treaty, a global treaty agreeing not to modify the weather or not to use weather modification as a weapon. That was a treaty that we had to sign, an international treaty, because we had the ability to manipulate the weather through HAARP.
Yeah, HAARP and other things. I don't think HAARP was involved in this, though. Steve, any thoughts on, I know this really isn't your area of expertise, but any thoughts on this one?
I mean, the only thing I saw the 25-year-old kid who owns the company, or at least he's CEO of the company that does the weather seeding, and he talked about how before it was a crapshoot where you would go up, you would send your drones up, you would seed the clouds, and maybe you just got lucky and it worked. Or maybe it was going to rain anyway, and it was just going to come down. He said now that they can 100% guarantee that once they send those drones up, they're going to get rain.
And it sure looks like they got the rain in Texas and New Mexico. So, which are neighboring states. So it's possible it was a second cloud seeding, or it's possible that whatever they did in Texas drifted into New Mexico and started the whole thing up again. So,
well, like I said, I mean, he claims at this juncture that they can be 100% accurate when they hit that cloud. They know that they're 100% sure that they're going to. That I guess the way that they do it is they see the water in the clouds. The water is then frozen, which makes it heavy. It falls down through the atmosphere. If it's cold, it snows. If it's warm, it turns into rain. And they have 100% success rate in doing it now.
Wow.
Yeah. So, all right, Blake, any other issues you wanted to talk about or put out there that we didn't get to tonight?
I think the big bombshell was really just on, the Epstein thing. I think that kind of just wiped everything else out of the news cycle, except for the horrific, the flood and the aftermath and the rescue operation.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully this won't be the undoing of MAGA, but we're going to need a big win now. So.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And something's going on. Steve, any thoughts or ideas or anything you want to?
I am as from the beginning of the Trump administration, I am still waiting for the big arrests to come down. I'm waiting for the indictments. I'm waiting for people to go to jail. I'm waiting to be watching the court TV network, whatever the hell it is, watching people on trial. I'm waiting for all of that, and I haven't seen any of it. And I'm really losing my faith in the administration. I mean, it's basically the Biden administration light. They're covering things up. They're, saying that they're going to do things, and then all of a sudden they're not doing them. And my faith in the system is gone right back down to the toilet again. I'm just as bitter as I was during the Biden administration.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, I have to agree. Brooks, any final thoughts before we let you go and get a drink of water?
I am also disappointed in the Department of Justice. To me, I know it's only been 6 months, but the pattern is already being set. This obfuscation, this sidestepping, this bullshitting, lying, outright lying to the public. This is not going to cut it. You know, society goes through a cycle of mercy, peace, justice, and war. And we are in the justice cycle, but we're nearing the end of it.
Right.
If we don't get justice, if we the people do not get justice, we don't see it, then
we're going to war. Then it's going to be war. And so if they're trying to avoid war by covering up and, this is a national security issue, guess what? You're going to get war by covering up.
Right on.
This is the age of Aquarius we're in now. Pisces is over. We're now in Aquarius. Everything comes to light. Everything comes out. You can't hide it. You may as well just get on board and accept it and stop trying to hide it, because that is only going to have negative consequences for everyone involved. One more thing. Kathy Weber says Mount Rainier is having many micro earthquakes the last couple of days. I'm staying in the cabin retreat for the summer, about 35 miles from there. Well, as someone who used to live in Washington State near Seattle, I will tell you a couple things. Number one, this is exactly what happened underneath Mount St. Helens before it erupted in 1980. Dozens, hundreds of microquakes, which is the magma moving and getting ready to explode out of the top of the mountain. Mount Rainier is an active volcano. Mount St. Helens is an active volcano. There are ancient Indian paintings depicting, or cave drawings depicting, a war of fire between Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens. Mount Rainier is overdue for an eruption. And if you want to know how, I used to live in Auburn, Washington, the Kent Valley, as they call it. If you want to know how the Kent Valley was formed, what I do is you walk out, you get on 167 there, and you can see all the way straight up to Mount Rainier. And on this side, there's a hill, and on this side, there's a hill. You know why? Because Mount Rainier exploded, and a massive mud flow went all the way to Lake Washington from Mount Rainier and wiped out everything in between. So I got out of there. I would recommend, if this accelerates, if this continues to happen, I would recommend to everybody to get the hell out of there, because I don't think this ends well. And it's starting out just like St. Helens did in 1980. So keep your eye on this. It's important stuff. All right, guys. That is going to do it. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here. Blake for TV's Blake Wally, Steve Doran, the Trail Boss, and Dr. Brooks Agnew. Thanks for being here. I'll try to be a little less pissed off next week. But why? That's not what you sign up for. You come here to get pissed off. Thanks for being here. I'll be back on Real News Live with Mike and Jen. Tell the Truth Wednesday tomorrow at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. I will see you.